In this episode, I'm going to take a look at a semi-current development release of Inkscape so that I can show off some of the new Spiro capabilities. I'm using Inkscape Subversion Revision 19338. Just as I was thinking about screencasting this, Andy Fitzsimon posted a tutorial on roughly the same thing. You want to make sure that you check out his blog. He's got a detailed description on how to use Spiro. So check that out. Okay, let's get started. The first thing that we're going to take a look at is the new features in the pencil tool. What we have now is a slider for smoothing. Basically how that works is if we put it back down to 0 and we use the pencil tool, that's what we've been accustomed to in previous versions of Inkscape. And of course you can do like a Control L there to smooth it out. But what we have now is a smoothing bar or a slider. If I slide it all the way up to 100, you can see that it auto smooths as I draw. That's a pretty handy tool. Okay, so let's get into Spiro. Basically what we have as far as drawing paths go, in the pencil tool and the Bezier tool, we have a brand new icon, Spiro splines. So you can flip back and forth between drawing with Spiro and drawing with just regular Bezier paths. So we're going to check Spiro, and we're going to make sure that we start off with a none for the shape. Okay? And basically how it works is just like this. I'm going to draw an S. And you can see it's pretty rough. And when I let go, you can see that that the smoothing, the spline, is nice and round. Now it's still pretty rough. That's because I have a lot of nodes in here. So if I were to click it, what I can do is adjust these nodes, and you can see what Spiro wants to do is make a nice curvature in between each node. That's something that Bezier paths don't do. Everywhere that I move this, you have a nice, smooth, like rubber banding effect almost. You can see everywhere that I have a node. And that's what's great about Spiro. Now let me undo this a little bit. And having this shape, if you were a font designer, by the way, and this isn't maybe the way to go about it, but let me remove some of these nodes. Okay, now that's pretty rough right there. Spiro works by selecting a node and making it rounded. See how nice and round that is? We'll select this one, make it round. This one, smooth, I guess, is the proper term for it. And we'll make this smooth. Now you can see that that makes a very nice shape. Double click that. Slide these around. Slide this around. And you can see how powerful and how fun it is to draw with these shapes. Now that's something that drawing with Bezier paths might take you a while to do. Got a nice curve here. Let me thicken that up a little bit so you can see it. We can double click anytime, and again you can change it. Nice curves. I love this. Okay, so let's take a look at something else. Paths. Also in this new development release that are coming down the pipeline here, we have some more options. We have a clipboard option, crescendo and decrescendo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Clipboard option. That's a little fun to play with because it's like this option right here is going to somewhat introduce brushes to Inkscape. Maybe that's where they're going with this, I don't know, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. So for example, I'm going to draw a circle. I'll make this circle a little bit smaller. I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to copy that to the clipboard. And we'll just move that off to the side right now. Now when I draw with a path, you can see I get these nice flowing shapes. Kind of looks like an eyebrow right there. Now when I click on it, there we go. Show up there. And let me turn my path on here. Show the outline. Okay, now you can see the red outline here. You can see how rough it is. That's how rough my normal path would have been. But since we're using Spiro, it cleans it up and makes it a nice blended, rounded shape. And you can take that further if you want and adjust it. And that's just the beauty of Spiro. Okay, so what's the difference in our other options? Oh wait, let me do this one more time here. Let's get rid of this and let's draw another shape. How about a star this time? What would a star do? Let's make this just a little bit smaller. Okay, I'm going to copy this to the clipboard and we're going to draw with our clipboard shape, and I'll just swipe and you can see that I have a nice Spiro star shape. So in a sense, this is kind of like a brush. I'll move this around a little bit. Cool, huh? Okay, let's get rid of this. Okay, let's have a look at some other options here. Okay, we got crescendo. And if I draw it this way, you can see that it's thin one side, thick the other. If I draw this side, you can see that it reverses it. And just like everything else, I can double click on this, move these around. I can add more nodes, just like paths. Flip that around the other way and you might get something that looks like the Debian logo. And see how nasty this red path is? That's how nasty my Bezier path would look like. That's not really useful for anybody. But Spiro likes to clean up everything and make everything nice and rounded. Okay? And here we have the opposite effect. So if I start off on this side, it's thick that side. So depending on what you want to do there. Okay? So now these options, let me go back and we'll do none here. Okay, now I just want to explain that the options in the pencil tool are pretty much the same as the options in the Bezier tool, except that we don't have a slider for smoothness. Okay, so if you're drawing with a Bezier path and you want to do Spiro, then just like you were accustomed to, as soon as I hit enter here, it'll take that nasty green path and true it up. And you can take any nodes and delete them. And if you get too crazy with it, your spiral path will just go retarded on you. So just be careful. And that's our shape right there. Okay? So, what can you apply Spiro to? Well, you can apply it to a lot of things, especially if you're tracing over bitmap images or sketches. One of the things I want to explain before I carry on here is the live path effects. Now, in my last episode, I told you that live path effects in the development releases are just many times better than what we have in the current stable build. For example, and this is one thing I just want to show you before I carry on. If you have a Bezier path, and let me just draw one right now. Okay. And you wanted to convert that to Spiro, what you need to do is go to our path pull down, path effects, And we go to path here, and you can see all of these brand new effects we have. We even have this brand new one called Boolean options, which I haven't figured out how to use yet, but I won't get into. Anyways, Spiro, where are you? Right here, Spiro spline. All we need to do is add that, and you see that it turned my Bezier path into a Spiro. Again, I can click this, do whatever I want with it. And what's great about it being a live path effect is that I can get back to the original. So I can remove this, and I'm back to my original path. Okay, so there's pretty much 3 ways to use Spiro in Inkscape. As far as I can tell, there might be more, but the pencil tool, Bezier path, and live path effects. Okay, so everyone was wondering, not everyone, a few people were wondering how I did that Spiro doodle the other day. Let's go ahead and make a background here. Do something about like this. And let's see, we'll make this orange, and we'll give it a gradient. And notice that some of my tools are rolled up. They also fixed in this release the smallest startup size bug. If you want to call it a bug, I just call it functionality that just wasn't there. It wasn't really a bug, I guess. But you'll be able to make this Inkscape window really small now. But anyways, let's grab our gradient tool, and let's make a gradient across here. Okay, that looks pretty good. And let's clean that up. Okay, so we're going to grab the gradient tool again, and in the middle here, I'm going to add a new node, and I'm going to make that a lighter shade of orange, and I'm going to grab this end node, and I'm going to make that a darker shade, so we have just a little bit lighter in the middle. And I'll move this around a little bit. That looks pretty good. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this thing, get this out of the way for now. And I'm going to zoom out a little. And I'm going to pick the Bezier tool, and I'm going to use clipboard. And I'm going to select this object, and we're going to copy that to the clipboard. And I'm going to draw a shape. Okay, that's a nice Spiro path there. We'll double click on this, and we'll move this around a little bit. And with Spiro, it's so much faster now to adjust a path. I mean, it just moves right along, and it makes drawing with paths fun. Okay, I think that's a pretty good shape. And I'll add some other shapes here. And again, you can use the pencil tool if you want to use that. We use clipboard. Actually, I'll use this one right here. And maybe we'll use Bezier path because that'll give me less nodes here. Okay, we'll move this around. We rotate it a little bit. When you rotate spiral paths, they do change just slightly, so you have to be aware of that. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. And we'll put another one down here. And again, it's just great drawing really nasty and rough paths and having Spiro just clean everything up for you. And we'll put one right there. we'll rotate this just a little bit to get that on its tangent. And we'll put one down here. And I got one more node there. Okay, we'll move this over. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take this whole thing right here. Well, let's not get that circle. And I'll group this together. And we'll make this white. And I'm going to change its transparency to about a 20. And you get a nice Spiro, kind of like a floral, I'm sorry, Spiro. I have to reteach myself on how to pronounce that. Anyways, you get a nice floral kind of design. You probably see these pretty often on the internet nowadays because it seems to be like a new trend. But that's Spiro. So I hope you guys have the opportunity to check out our development release. There's just a plethora of new options in there, and they're just fun to discover and play with. So I think when this release is going to be finished, it's just going to be outstanding. The developers are doing just a spectacular job, and I can't wait for this thing to be released. So thank you for watching. I'm Heathen X.